Have you wondered when you look at a creative practitioner who's self-employed and full-time in their business or practice, what do they do to be able to run all the things that they do on their own from the front end to the back end of their business? Well, I'm here to just tell you straight, no, you don't. You don't do it alone and you need help. And so often we get a little bit confused of like when we say getting help, what are they? So today I'm going to give you a detailed line-by-line breakdown of the 5 kinds of help I identify in the first year of running my business full-time. Before we dive right into it though, a little bit recap and self-intro in case that you are new to this channel. So I'm Betty and I run a multifaceted creative business since February 2022. My business encompasses 3 things. One is coaching service for creatives to grow their career and practice. Second, I provide fundraising consulting service for nonprofits. Third, I also make videos and films. If you haven't, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get more resources and videos on creative practices and creative career. Okay, now let's dive right into it. You notice that in the video, I wear a different outfit. That's because originally I actually wanted to share all the lessons I learned with you in one video. And notice as I was editing this that it became extremely long. So the video that you're going to see next is actually recorded on a separate date. There are 2 other videos that is interconnected to this video about all the lessons that I learned in the first year of running my creative business full-time. So after you watch this video, be sure to check out the other 2 lessons. Lesson number 2, ask for the right help at the right time. I really stress the phrasing that I put in that sentence because it's much more nuanced than like hiring help and delegating. For many of us who have a multifaceted creative practice, we actually not aiming to build a team. If you're me, I'm not aiming to build a company of like 3, 4, 5. Like I'm really enjoying the flexibility of working on my own. However, this does not mean that I don't need help. And over the last 12 months, I pretty much kind of honed in that there are at least like 5 kinds of help that a creative practitioner needs on the journey of growing. Number 1 is kind of the most intuitive way that we think about help. Outsourcing work that we need to do, or someone else can do it faster, better than us and be more effective and help us. Number 2 is getting coaching and mentorship in a specific area or niche that you need to grow. Like I already mentioned at the beginning phase of my starting my coaching account on Instagram, I really needed someone that understood how to help coaches to build their content, and that's why I engaged a coach in that specific area. Till this day, I still get help from my fundraising mentor and coach me to support my fundraising consulting business. On the other end, I've worked with a leadership and career coach for the last 4 years and continue to work together even though my professional identity has changed so much. So coaching and mentorship is a huge part of how I've structured my personal development. Number 3 is getting the right technology and backend in place. And this piece can definitely be something that evolves over time. When you're setting up a practice, everything from the invoicing software that you use to the product, like day-to-day project management tool that you use, is going to be super helpful and important to make your day that much more smoother and more efficient. But the word of caution there is I have, especially as a coach perspective, is that nowadays there are so many productivity hacks or advice that's out there. Be very careful when you're selecting technology or the tools that help you to remember that at the end of the day, the technology and tools don't really take care of the deep-seated issues that might exist in as the undercurrents of your business or your practice. Why you're doing things in a certain way. For example, why you're not lacking motivation to act on a certain project. It's probably not going to be an issue with the tool that you've been using. I'm sorry, it just has nothing to do with the software that you use. So this is where that's why it's important to have those distinction of the different help that you need. If you are actually solving a why question with a how question, that's usually how I see it. Most people have a motivation issue and really need some coaching and mentorship support, but they go in a rabbit hole of selecting the perfect task management tool that they need. That's not going to take care of it. Number 4 is taking care of your mental health and your well-being. And this is critically important as a creative, right? The things that you invest in cultivating your hobby, the therapy that you invest in for your mental health, or other self-care activities. I don't know whether sometimes we have this sense of guilt in investing in ourselves. However, I always like to say this: you are your practice, especially when you're a creative solopreneur, creative practitioner. How you're showing up to the work is like most of the game that you're bringing to the business, or to be interacting in every encounter that you have with the people that you serve. So how well you're performing is critically important, even with a business metric. Not to mention, it's not just about the output that you put out either. It's about the value that you represent. Investing in yourself, in your mental health and your self-well-being is critically important, and I do consider that as a way of asking for the right help at the right time for your creative practice and to the overall success of yourself. And the last but not least that I think is also important is what traditionally is being called professional development, but in general it's just learning and growth. What are your curiosity? What's the thing that you're curious to explore next and learn? How are you deepening your craft? Or how are you exploring uncharted territory that might exist as a potential in your creative practice? That 5% or 10% of learning and exploring the unknown is going to be what continues to innovate your practice and yourself and deepen your craft. So with these 5 kinds of help or support, that's how you're going to build the structure that will allow you to have a great foundation to lead and grow. And when I started in my own journey, I certainly did not kind of think it through with the 5 different groups or the distinction among them. But I knew that like self-investment is important, and I've kind of selectively very strategically asked for different help in the process. For instance, at one point, I was very when I started out with the podcast, I was quite adamant that I know how to do. I'm a filmmaker. I know how to do podcasting because I know about sound production and know about production in general. But what I quickly realized in a couple of months into doing the podcast is that I actually not really great at efficiently using my time over repurposing certain content or producing content that on a repeated schedule. And that's when I kind of had an honest chat with myself, whether you need help. And today I can share that I have a virtual assistant and podcast co-producer, Denise. If you're listening to this, I'm so grateful for your help that helped me to produce the podcast. I continue to be the front end of curating the content and thinking about which guests to bring on and record a podcast, of course. But Denise really takes care of the back end of editing and repurposing content to different platforms. Before we move on to lesson 3 of what I learned as a full-time practitioner in the past year, I actually want to share a bit more about the origin story of how I was able to become full-time as a creative practitioner. I think this story is, I've shared that before in my podcast, but it's worth sharing again, because the last thing that I want is that for those of you who currently have a job and have the curiosity to become full-time in your creative practice, to be fully self-employed, I want you to understand that the process of making that decision is huge. I don't want you to take that lightly, and I'm definitely not here to promote that culture of just follow your passion and everything will be fine. In fact, I think when you're making that decision, you have to evaluate the risks and the rewards and your purpose and direction and your values, and how this new arrangement of being fully on your own is going to suit you or not. So my story of like becoming full-time and fully on my own, and the reason that I'm able to do that was that as I was building my coaching practice and my video business on the side, while I was having a fundraising consultant job at a boutique firm based here in Toronto called the Group Partnership, my mentor and my former boss, Cindy Rackman, who's an amazing boss and amazing mentor, was also at the same time building a different business model in her business. We used to be a firm that's fully serves small nonprofits to do fundraising strategy and done for you implementation. But Cindy had these visions a couple years back then of hoping to lead a movement to help people who are fundraisers to be self-efficient on their own and build their own consulting business, so that together as a movement we can serve more amazing small nonprofits. And I happen, you can say, to be at the right time with the right opportunity and with the right help, going to my point or lesson 2, and that I saw that opening of my coaching business was growing. My video business was going also pretty well, and I really came to hone in myself, and with the help of my leadership and career coach, that I really enjoyed this setup of having multiple links in my career. And Cindy was testing or like rolling out the first iteration of her program supporting people to be fundraising consultant, and I saw an opportunity to run a multifaceted creative business or practice that has filmmaking, consulting, and coaching. And through that program, and as I continue to get the support from Cindy, I was able to build, or you would say lay the foundation for my consulting business, and quickly got clients that provided the financial foundation for me to trust that if I were to go on my own, I would be able to not just like set up this flexible structure that serve my emotional and intellectual needs. I would actually be making more money this way and more profitable with the different links in my business. So this is a call out that if you happen to have fundraising skills or experience being an experienced fundraiser in the arts sector or in the nonprofit sector in general, as you're watching this video, Cindy's program, the Fractional Fundraiser Academy, is opening up again this April 2023. And I have a link down here to 2 links. One is to a quiz that assess whether you're fit to the program or different personality that you might be as a fundraiser or as a potential fundraising consultant, so that you can kind of assess whether this might be of interest. Second is that there's an upcoming webinar with more information, and you can sign up through the link that I attach in the show notes or in the description of this video. Did you enjoy today's video? If you do, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos and resources on creative career and practice. Also, don't forget that there are 2 other videos that are interconnected to today's video, which include the other 2 lessons that I learned in the first year of running my business full-time. You can also consume this content on audio formats on my podcast, the Everyday Talent Podcast, which is available on most of the platforms that you listen to podcasts to. See you next time, YouTube.